This
Justin McBee with
this
everyone. This is,
conference will now be recorded.
well, we're having some issues here. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep, it's recording now. Sorry about that.
It's okay. So this is Justin McBee with Neishloss Fleming. I first want to thank everyone for their time today. What we're going to do today is we have Taylor McDonald with CSG. She's actually going to do a walkthrough training with everyone today for the new enrollment portion of CSG's quoting tool that we offer you here at Neishloss Fleming. So, Taylor, we thank you for joining us today. She will do the whole walkthrough. Any questions, concerns, please hold them till the end. Taylor will be able to answer those at that point. So without further ado, again, Taylor, thanks for joining us today, and I'll open up to you.
No problem. Thank you very much. So like you said, we're going to go ahead and just walk through kind of a brief overview and a training of how this e-application works in conjunction with the current quoting tool. So the screen you see in front of you now, this is what obviously is very similar to what you see on your quoting tool on your end. So you'll see that we now have this e-application button once we go live, and so you will see this here underneath the tools. But to actually start a new application, we'll just start by hitting Run Quote underneath the Medicare Supplement tool. So we'll go ahead and press that button. And we'll just start by running a quote as we normally would within the quoting tool. So we'll enter our zip code, the age, gender, tobacco status, plan type, effective date, everything we normally would for the client's quote that we're running. And then we'll click on Get Quote. And we do currently have the e-application live for Mutual of Omaha and Aetna. So you can see that on my screen here for this demo screen, we do have both Aetna and Mutual of Omaha. And to actually start this e-application, we'll start by clicking on Apply Now. Once we click this Apply Now button, it's going to take us from the quoting tool into the e-application. It's all on the same platform, but this is where we start the e-app. Just takes a second to load here. And so we'll go ahead and we'll authenticate. So this is where you'd enter your NPN number. I'm going to go back and do mutuals. I think it's, I need to validate that one. So we'll do mutual. So we'll hit apply now. So the very first time you're doing an e-application for this carrier and in this state, you will need to enter your NPN number. So you saw that first screen a moment ago. I would enter my first and last name as well as my writing number. And so, of course, I've done a mutual app on this platform, so it remembered me. But for Aetna, I wasn't verified, so it would ask me to then enter my first and last name as well as my writing number. As we can see, we see our plan F that we ran the quote for, a female 65, non-tobacco, and then we'll select our underwriting type. So for this instance, we'll do full underwriting. We'll go ahead and hit continue. We can see we also see these sections here, so we'll hit continue on this first page, but once we actually get into the e-app, we can actually select any of these sections. It will take us right into those sections. The app will recognize any changes we make to any of the answers we put in. So, for instance, if we first ran a plan F, but now we select a plan G, the application is automatically going to recognize that, and it's going to change that price for us. So there's really no way we can mess this up. So if we make a change here or we decide, oh, they didn't want a plan F, they want a plan G, we don't need to restart the application. We'll just go ahead and select the correct plan, and it's going to update for us here. So we can see that price did change, and it's now reflecting the price for a plan G. I'm going to enter the first name, so I'm just going to put NFI test. So when we see this come through, we'll know this is the one we were working on. We'll go ahead and click on health information. This is where we could enter any of the person's, of course, health information, but any conditions or health conditions they have, it's going to ask us about these things. And I'm going to show you how this e-app will actually underwrite in real time and how it adjusts when we enter certain information. So for Mutual of Omaha here, it tells us if we answer yes to any of the following questions, the person is not eligible for coverage. So it's telling us right off the bat, if we select yes, they're not eligible. However, it will still let the application submit. Aetna, on the other hand, will not even let the application come through, so you won't even be able to submit it. But for Mutual, they'll let it go through, but it's telling you they're not going to be eligible for coverage. So if we click yes for one of these, so if we're currently confined to a wheelchair or any motorized mobility device, if we select yes, we can see that the e-app is actually updating here. So So it's actually underwriting in real time. We know right away when we select yes that we're going to get this notification that tells us the applicant may not be issued coverage because we answered yes to at least one health question. So if we click no, this notification will go away, and we can go ahead and proceed with the e-application. But it will recognize those health conditions, and it's going to let us know if we enter anything, of course, that would not allow them to be eligible for coverage. Similarly, with the medication information, if we select that yes, we are taking medications, we can actually enter in our medications directly to the EApp, and it's going to let us know if we enter anything that would make us ineligible for the coverage. So if we search available medications, I'll go ahead and enter one here. You'll just search any medication, you'll select them, and then we'll select our dosage as well as our frequency. We can answer the rest of the questions and then tell them what our diagnosis or our condition is. So we'll say for kidney, and then we'll select add prescription. We can see it's then added at the bottom of the page here. And if we hit continue, we're actually going to get a notice up here at the top again, or at the bottom here. The applicant is unlikely to be issued coverage because we have included a possible declinable medication, and we're also going to see this notification at the top again. So it does underwrite in real time, great way for the agent to stay accountable, no surprises at the end. We'll know right away if we enter something that would make them not eligible for coverage. We do have multiple different signature methods. For Aetna, we do have the voice signature where they would call into a phone number and validate themselves. Email signature where they would validate via email. Identifying information, if you're with the applicant, they can actually tell you the last four of their social as well as their mother's maiden name, and that's how they'd validate themselves, or also wet signature. So we can't always print this at the end. We can always have them do a wet sign and mail it in if we'd like to go that route. Mutual, they do have the email signature, the identifying information if the applicant is with you, or again the wet signature. So a lot of different signature methods we offer to make this easy. Of course, most people will probably be using the electronic signature, but we can always do the wet sign if we need to. We'll go to this to be completed by producer. This is where we would, enter any notes to underwriting. So if we need to explain something, or if we need to upload any documents, we can do that here. So any notice of termination or evidence of insurance, we can select those document types and then upload those files directly to the fee application, and they will be submitted directly to the carrier as well. Once all this information is entered, we would click Verify Application. And this is kind of our last. Of course, we've got sections here we've not completed, which is why we've got these yellow exclamation points. So that's telling us, we need to go back. These green check marks mean the section's completed, so we can always go back and finish those sections. But once they've all been completed, and we have green check marks all the way down, we can actually lock an e-sign. Once we lock this, we can't go in and make any changes without notifying the applicant, just so we know the agent's not changing any information without the applicant knowing. And then we would go ahead and we'd submit the e-application. It would go directly to the carrier. Once we've submitted the e-application, I'll show you where we can see any applications that are in progress or that have been submitted. So we'll click on Dashboard. We'll come back to our dashboard and go into e-applications and click on View Active. And of course, this is where I entered NFI test. So we can see that it's actually incomplete, but it was created today on the 24th. And we can actually click Edit and go back in and pick up right where we left off on this application. Or if we didn't need this application any longer, we can go ahead and delete that out of here. So that's kind of our quick overview of the e-application, some of those functions we have, as well, the underwriting and the signature methods. Does anyone have any questions over anything we went over?
Yeah, I don't even think, I wouldn't even bring them all. Let's save them for, Yeah.
We can consolidate that into one box, right?
Any questions on the other end?
What's left is, take two of the boxes.
Okay, well, if there's not any more questions, this was recorded, this overview. Oh, we got one that came in chat here. Can you give details about the different signature options? Yes, so if we go back the voice signature, there would be a phone number there listed when you're doing the e-signature. I just didn't want to actually sign this application. It would take a while to go through the entire app, and then I don't want to actually submit it to Aetna or Mutual because this is live. But for the voice signature, it would be a phone number. And so the applicant would call in, and this is all hosted by Aetna. It's not something CSG hosts. So they would call into a number that's provided by Aetna, and then I can clarify exactly what questions would be asked, but they would just call in and validate themselves. It may ask for their mother's maiden name, their last four of their SOCH, and then Aetna has that as their signature method. It keeps that recording of their voice calling in. That's not hosted on CSG, but it's something done through Aetna. The email signature, an email would be sent to the applicant, so they would enter their email address, and they would receive an email, and then they would go ahead and in that email validate themselves. They'd enter any information it would ask or check that, this is me, and then it would be sent into Aetna. And once they do that email signature, then it of course goes to the carrier. The identifying information, so if the applicant's right here with me, they can actually just type it in. So it will say, are you with the applicant? You would select yes if they're sitting next to me, and then you would just type in their mother's maiden name, the last four of their SOCH. Because they're sitting right there with you, they can simply provide that to you. But if they're not with you, we can't do that. We would have to, send them an email or have them call in with a voice signature. And then for the wet sign, it would ask if we would like to do a wet signature, and it'll actually download a PDF. I'm trying to look if I don't have an example here I've submitted, but once the application's been submitted, under status, it will say complete, and it will have a policy number, and we can actually download the PDF of that submitted application, and then they would wet sign that, and we would mail it in. So we can actually download the PDF. Okay, so that answers his question. No problem. You're welcome. Any other questions, either over chat or over the phone? What other carriers are on the horizon? Good question, Bill. So we are working with some other carriers right now, getting them live on the e-application. We have not been able to release the names of those carriers yet, but we do have a couple that are essentially in the queue and that we're really excited to get live on our platform. And as soon as we know who those carriers are, we'll certainly be announcing and letting everybody know that those carriers are now live. Or once we can announce that we're working on those carriers, I will certainly let everybody know. How many carriers do you think will be available on 10/1? So we hope to have, I would say, around 5 to 7 live in time for October. So we're working really hard to get as many live. I'm hearing myself on the other end come through. But we're working as hard as we can to get as many live as possible on the platform as quickly as we can. No problem, Bill. Any other questions over the phone or via chat? Okay, well, if anybody thinks of any other questions in the meantime, feel free. I'm not sure how we want to push those questions along. Either you can push them to somebody at Neishloss, and then they can forward those questions along to me, but we're happy to answer any questions anybody has along the way. I'm always happy to answer any questions that come up, so don't hesitate to ask any of those questions. I'm always happy to help.
Thank you, Taylor, for joining us today. For all of those still on the call here, we are going to have a recorded copy of this, so please reach out to your prospective contact here at Neishloss and Fleming. We'll be glad to get you that information. Any questions, please do the same. And Taylor, we appreciate all of your time today.
No problem. You guys have a great weekend.
You as well. Thank you.